Happy Friday, Miami. This is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, a real estate podcast about what's going on in the South Florida real estate market. I'm Peter Zalewski. I'm a condo consultant, expert witness, founder of the Miami Condo Investing Club. I'm joined here by my co-host, my partner, the moderator, Daniel Hernandez, over at Compass Real Estate. He does single-family houses as well as condos, and he's in Coconut Grove, a wet Coconut Grove today.
Very wet Coconut Grove today. Winter's over. We're in summer now, right? It's summer. We had no spring. We're right into it.
And it's Friday the 13th. This is a happy Friday the 13th edition. We got rain. It should be beautiful weather. What's going on?
Friday the 13th, and then are we celebrating St. Patrick's Day this weekend, or is it just in the middle of the week next week? Green beer flowing.
Listen, I used to live with a lot of Irish, and I can tell you, all year long is St. Patrick's Day.
Nice. Well, listen, if you're joining us for the first time today, this is Buy, Sell, Hold Miami, episode number 43. We are almost done with Q1, Peter. Almost. We got a few more weeks in Q1. Winter buying season, just about over. But if you're just joining us for the first time today, Buy, Sell, Hold, the bottom left of your screen, you're going to see some rundown topics. And so the format of this show is that we're going to take each one of these topics and we're going to talk to them for about 7 or 10 minutes. And at the end of each topic, we either buy because we agree, we sell because we disagree, or we hold because we don't know and we just want to sit back, eat popcorn, and watch the world burn. I'm kidding. We're far more optimistic than that. At least I am. Peter, I'll let him speak for himself. But jumping into it is something we talked about a little bit last week, and I need to apologize for all of our loyal viewers. Last week there were some technical difficulties with my audio. I'm going to blame AT&T. But jumping into it, Dubai, or Dubai. And if you're just listening, I spelled Dubai 3 different ways because we're going to drop them into 3 different buckets. So Peter, how do you spell Dubai? How do you spell Dubai on a map?
Dubai. The Emirates of the United Arab Emirates. It's a small little one. It's basically the place of vice and anything you want to do in the Middle East. It is the Miami or it is the Singapore for the pan-regional area.
With arguably less KYC. And that's not like the KY jelly lubricant. I'm talking like know your customer laws, right? So Dubai in that spelling is the status quo, right? It's or at least what the status quo was up until about a month ago when all of this started to happen. I call it war. You can call it an armed conflict. You can ask ChatGPT to come up with a more mild synonym. Maybe, what are they calling it? An endeavor, an excursion, an exercise, a walkabout, if I may.
A pissing match.
A pissing match, sure. But nevertheless, there are missiles flying, UAVs going. The only UAVs here in Miami we have, Peter, are owned by photographers taking arguably less nefarious photos of supposed penthouse views. But there are no explosives attached to our UAVs here. So we do have that going for us. So Dubai, as that spelling, is what it was a month ago. And Peter and I, last week, we talked about how that veil of safety has been pierced, the crystal slipper has shattered, and the carriage has turned back into a pumpkin, and you're just in the middle of the desert with all this bad stuff happening around you. And we talk about it because, well, a few months ago, I went over to London, jolly old England, to better understand why so many Brits were going to Dubai, because I look at Miami as a great place for capital flight. Hell, we've been selling condos to Latin Americans for decades. So I wanted to understand why Brits were flocking to Dubai instead of Miami. And the reports I got back talking to a lot of people were, it's pro-business. I was like, wow, we're pro-business. You can get your visa pretty easily. Okay, maybe you can get your visa more easily. It's warm, we're warm. So we were sort of in this pissing match with Dubai for foreign European dollars. And up until about a month ago, they said safety was a big thing. You would see all those videos of people, oh, I can leave my car keys on the table. I can leave my laptop on the table. That very well may be true today, but there's some inherent risk that has been, well, I wouldn't even say uncovered. It's very evident. So much so, Peter, I think, did I send you the article? Or you sent me the article about a British gentleman that is being charged for sharing a video of the war going on. Because in Dubai, Peter, there's no First Amendment. You can't do that. You can't share. Not only share, you can't engage, you can't comment on, you can't send it to your buddy as a funny meme. It's not funny to them, and they will come after you for it. So they're charging 20 people for disturbing the peace effectively. I mean, that's crazy. But that's UAE cybercrime law, because they're so invested in projecting out this image of this safe haven. Well, guys, it ain't a freaking safe haven anymore. So the second category of Dubai is the DUBUY. Do you see Dubai as an opportunity to go in and buy at bottom of the barrel prices, because you might believe that 10 years from now, everything that's going on just going to be a blip in history, and you'll look back at this as that moment where you saw opportunity and you were able to buy stuff for pennies on the dollar? Perhaps. Are you long Dubai, Peter?
I think Dubai has now moved into what could have been, and I know they don't do it this way anymore, but they used to do first world, second world, third world in terms of risk. Where do you put your money? What is the most transparent? What is the most risk-free, risk-adverse type of area? And then you had higher risk, but you also had a higher reward. Dubai was basically, and let's call it the first world, even though it's not politically correct, but it's easiest way to sort of break it down. Dubai has basically been downgraded, if you will. I think in the world's eyes, the investors' eyes, it's now a place where there could be great reward, but there's also tremendous risk. It's now been taken off the table, much like Hong Kong. Hong Kong, prior to 1996, when the Brits handed it over back to China, mainland China, the Chinese promised one country, two systems. That's all been basically abolished. They're throwing journalists in prison that are north of 70 years old. They're going after everybody there. When you're in China, in Hong Kong, you're under control. Dubai was one of these places. There were effectively four places in the world, from my opinion. There was Hong Kong, there was Singapore, there was Dubai, and then there was Miami. China took Hong Kong off the board, so then you had Singapore, you had Dubai, and you had Miami. And now, in my opinion, Dubai has been downgraded. It's now off the board. So now you only have Miami, and you only have Singapore. Maybe there'll be a competitor that steps up. We know it's not going to be Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. They were making inroads. That's now gone to shit. They were trying to build a city, which was going to be all-encompassing.
Now it's going to be a data center.
Now it's going to be a data center. So, the whole Middle East, I would say, attempt is pretty much tits up, as they say in Tampa. I don't think you could say that in Dubai. What you also can't do in Dubai, you can't hold a woman's hand when you're in public. You can't do anything unless you're on a hotel site. I love Dubai, but it's very restrictive. There's been stories oftentimes where you have expats, and I've said this before. When you go to Dubai, what you're going to find is 5% are Emiratis, 20% are going to be Westerners, and 75% are going to be those coming from South Asia, whether it's Bangladesh, India, or Pakistan. They're doing the construction. The Westerners are taking care of all of the front of the office, and then the Emiratis, those from Dubai, they're sort of sitting back and counting the cash. That's the way it's been going. Now, I think you have some real challenges there, but you always hear about Westerners. They do what they're going to do on the hotel site, which is viewed almost like an embassy. Then they have a health issue. They go to the doctor. And there was a case recently where a Swedish couple, they weren't married. The woman's she's feeling a little bit uncertain. She goes to the doctor. Turns out she's pregnant. They arrest her. They arrest the father, the alleged father of the baby. The Swedish government has to get involved to have them both extracted from the country. So it looks good on paper, but the reality of Dubai can be a little bit challenging. We can say that now because we're in Miami, and thus far we are not yet under any kind of censor, any kind of, there's no requirements here yet. But that being said, Dubai, you cannot say this stuff. Dubai, you cannot do what you want. You look at it, it looks pretty, but you can't necessarily, enjoy the freedoms that we have here in the United States. And I think that will ultimately, in the long term, that's going to make it a higher risk. So I think it's been downgraded from many investors' perspective. And whether or not Miami becomes downgraded, because we have a pop-up detention center located in the middle of the swamp called Alligator Alcatraz. That's sort of a conversation for a different time.
So I think you would fall in the third spelling of Dubai, which is Dubye. Bye-bye, ciao, see you later. So I kind of fall in this camp. And listen, guys, I cannot stress this enough. It is awful, awful, awful. Capital letters all throughout what's happening in those Gulf countries right now. War is bad, 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 bad. But as a real estate professional here in Miami, I cannot help but look at Dubai as our natural competitor for foreign dollars, see what's happening there, and not think, gee, well, if there's this big pie of foreign dollars and they're all going here, Peter already told you they're not going to Hong Kong, maybe they're going to Singapore, but that's all the way in Asia. So if your business, if your life is in the Western Hemisphere or in Europe, you were probably going to Dubai or you were going to Miami. And now Dubai, yeah, everything we just said, this terrible thing that is happening there makes it awful. And Peter, you were talking about First Amendment rights. So I don't think that I'm invited back to do the buy, sell, hold live from Abu Dhabi Airport anymore, because I would fall in this category.
Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is conservative as they come. It's a short ride. If you can take a bus, basically real cheap, to go from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. But what you can do in Dubai, you cannot do in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi is the biggest of the Emirates that ultimately together comprise what will be the UAE. And by the way, Bahrain at one point, which is another country.
They were trying to make that the financial center.
Yeah, well, Bahrain was invited to join the UAE, and they said, no, we're going to go it alone. And what did Iran do? They've been nailing them. So it's just over and over. And Qatar, which is this place that leans more pro-Iranian, where UAE, at least from my Westerner neophyte perspective, is leaning more Saudi. The Iranians are even attacking Qatar. Why? Because there's a military base there. There's a naval base there in Doha. So none of this makes sense other than the fact that Iran is scorching earth and they're taking everybody down with them, trying to apply pressure so people get up President Trump's ass and he then pulls back. But I don't think it's up to President Trump anymore. Now I think it's up to Iran. Do they want to go scorch earth? Do they want to pull back? And are they going to get a pound of flesh? And where does that pound of flesh come? From that little passage between Iran and UAE, the Straits of Hormuz. This is what it's all coming down to. Now Iran basically is walking the dog, if you ask me, because they know they're going to get devastated by our super superior type of military force. But they're able to hit the edges. They're that no-see-em that hits you when you're out at the beach at night and you don't know where it helps, but it keeps freaking biting you. That's what Iran has been basically reduced to based on the United States and its firepower. But, they're still a pain in the ass. You go out to the beach at dusk, and these damn things are biting you, and they just annoy the whole experience. And that's kind of where we're at right now. And I'm not discounting all the people who are dying. I'm just not discounting the soldiers. I'm looking at it strictly from an economics perspective.
So and going back to the economic comparison of Miami, Dubai, Miami, UAE, where am I going to go? I'm a multi-bazillionaire in the UK. They just put this mansion tax. They just put all these crazy net worth taxes, similar to what California is considering over there for, the net worth tax. And Dubai continues to try to push this safe haven image so far as, and that's why I shared my screen over here. You cannot share. This is an example taken off of X from the Dubai police. Think before you share. Spreading rumors is a crime. So they are so concerned about their image that they're willing to go to this extent, which arguably I think maybe like crossing the line. Like, hey, Peter, can't wait to visit, right?
Well, listen, when you do come into the country, all of a sudden it sort of hits you. Like if you're going, the reason I would stop in Dubai is I was doing a lot of travel. I was going over to Asia, and I would always stop over in Dubai because Emirates Airlines is the best in the world, bar none, in my opinion. So you could stop there, you could get off, you could go to the hotels, you did the things. But when you actually landed in Dubai and you wandered around, you just noticed things were a little bit different. It might have looked like Sunny Isles. It might have looked like Aventura. Everything was perfectly, manicured. It was all perfectly scripted. But, there's certainly certain things you just don't know what to do. It's not natural for somebody coming from not only the United States, but especially Miami. So Dubai always kind of made me a little bit, I was always a little bit challenged. You don't know, you don't want to walk over the line. But because of the security, because of the stories. And Daniel, one last story I will tell you. Dubai has debtor's prison. So what happened is during the During the boom and bust of the Great Recession, there were a bunch of Westerners who were out there peddling these condos. And when the market went sideways, many of these people, and these stories were documented, people would drive to the airport in their expensive car. They would leave the keys in the car. They'd get on a plane and they would never come back because they were basically upside down on what they owed. And a creditor, in theory, could have them thrown in the gulag, if you will. It's not the gulag in Dubai, but they could have them thrown in jail. This type of situation. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the people of Dubai are aggressive, but there are rules, at their that they could tap into if they need to shut something down. And in this 50-year-old,
And we're seeing that happen right now in real time.
Exactly. It's kind of like the United States pulling some law from like the 1700s and saying, oh, yeah, we're going to use this law to apply it. It doesn't really pertain to what's going on right now, but it is a tool that they have in their shed. So it's always, you need to be cognizant of it if you're over there, is what I would say.
We got to buy, sell, hold. I just wanted to put the three spellings on there, but I guess the question for the gang is, are you a buy, sell, hold on, are you long Dubai?
I would be long Dubai, yes, because I think you'll probably see some sort of sell-off, which could create an opportunity. So from an investor perspective, I would be long. From a human rights perspective and a freedom of speech perspective, I'd be a pound the table no.
I'm selling across the board on it. I don't buy it. To pull a line from Ocean's 11, at the end of the day, you're still in the middle of the goddamn desert.
But
I'm selling.
There's air-conditioned bus stops, so that is one reason. So if you're homeless, you can at least sleep in air conditioning.
Are you selling or buying on this? What am I marking you as, Pete?
I would put me as a hold.
Peter's a hold. Peter's a hold. Moving on. Fontainebleau ballyhoo. It just rhymes so well. Peter, what's a ballyhoo? Not the bait fish.
Yeah, ballyhoo is a term that came from the beginning of the 20th century. A gentleman called Carl Fisher, who's pretty much credited with putting Miami Beach on the map. He used to do what's called ballyhoo. It was a way to capture attention. Today they call it an influencer. Back then you would have to do things that were sort of, back then you did things that were sort of bizarre. Carl Fisher one did he was in the bicycle industry, and I think he dropped
he threw one off a building.
Yeah, he threw one off a balloon.
Off a hot air balloon, I think, right? Yeah.
And the media wrote about it, and all of a sudden it was a big thing. So that's ballyhoo. Basically, you're able to capture everybody's attention with something you don't see coming. I would tell you, if you've never been to India, go to Mumbai, and you would see ballyhoo everywhere because stuff you don't expect will suddenly be in your face, and it'll leave an impression. But that's ballyhoo.
So Fontainebleau ballyhoo, per this topic title, it's all about, well, the Fontainebleau Hotel, right? And it's been in the news a lot lately because Fontainebleau, they want to put a water park on the property, Peter. Put a water park, a freaking amusement park on the property, and the community has said absolutely freaking not. And so rather than just kind of like going back and licking their wounds, the new developer playbook is, we're going up to Tallahassee. We're going to lobby Tallahassee to tell local governments, you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and we're going to supersede you. And we've seen this happen with Live Local. We've seen this happen in Key West with the cruise ships. We've seen this happen many, many times over the last few years. But this is another example of that. And this all goes back into a House bill that we keep on talking about on the show, House Bill 399, that passed in the House last week or the week before regarding Tallahassee control over local government. And this pertains to the Fontainebleau for a very, very specific reason. So listen to this, Peter. So HB 399 creates a special category called a large destination resort. What's a large destination resort? A large destination resort is a public lodging establishment on at least 5 acres under one owner with at least 500 rooms and 70% average occupancy over the last 3 years. Peter, how many properties in Florida fit this very, very, very narrow description? Like, I don't know. I tried thinking about it. You got the Breakers, you got Disney World properties, and what, the Fontainebleau?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, who knows? Maybe Brickell Key. Maybe Brickell Key can work its way in.
So for these resorts, for these large destination resorts, it requires local governments to administratively approve any Minor, and I'm doing the air quotes because I'm going to tell you what the definition of minor is in a second. So any minor special exemption or variance for maintenance, modification, or refurbishment of an existing structure or site as long as it's already allowed use and not a structure listed as contributing to the National Register of Historic Places. And the National Register of Historic Places piece is important because remember, the Fontainebleau, designed by legend Morris Lapidus, but that's like the original OG little building. The Fontainebleau has now exploded into this cruise ship-like monstrosity, so only that structure is really historic. So back to the air quotes, right? So minor, this is just, it's so crazy. I'm smiling to myself. I'm cackling, Peter. I'm cackling. So minor is defined as affecting no more than 20% of the parcel's total area. So if you go back to the definition, 5 acres to be considered this. So a minor change is affecting less than 1 acre of a 5-acre resort. What? That's not minor. Minor is, hey, can I add some electrical outlets over here? Hey, can I put this overhang? Hey, can I build a little jacuzzi? They want to add a water park. How is that minor?
I don't think it's minor whatsoever, and I also think it's a tell. I think it's a tell that, and first of all, let's kind of cut to the chase here. So we're talking about the Fontainebleau. Fontainebleau, if you don't know, is owned by the Sofer family. Sofer family is very dominant, very powerful family. Family is the one that owns the Aventura Mall, where you always hear, and it might be like 1,000 people a day type of thing. You hear about Florida, everybody's moving in here. So supposedly the Aventura Mall is the most profitable mall that exists in the United States. I don't know. That's what they always talk about. But the Sofer family controls a lot of dirt. They own a lot of property, and this historical building, this Fontainebleau, was built. I don't even know what year it opened. It would have been like the 40s or 50s. Maybe it's lacking. Maybe it's falling behind. Maybe they need to pivot because remember, younger generations, they're not boozing like they used to before. Maybe they're not having sex like they used to before. Fontainebleau was a very good pickup place. I heard it was also a place that people who used to
It
talk
was
to
all
guys
there
were.
was.
Yeah, that's all it was. Then they open up Live, which is this music club, if you will, and that's like a boomer way of saying it. Basically, it's a nightclub. Oh, I don't even say
Music
nightclub. What do you
club?
call it? A
Damn,
disco?
Peter, you are old as
Music
hell,
club?
huh?
Yeah, I don't
It's
know
a
how. I don't know what the
nightclub.
latest nightclub. Nightclub sounds so 1970s. But anyways, so maybe it's getting long in a tooth. Maybe they're looking for a way to pivot. Maybe they realize that the market's passed them by, and now they need to go after the family. Maybe they are taking the approach of the Rat up in Orlando. And I say that lovingly. I mean, Daniel, remember, and this didn't necessarily age well given where we are today. When the Fontainebleau went through a major restoration where they used foreign sovereign money to
What was that, like
renovate it,
20 years ago?
they rushed, and you know what their opening event was? It was, and this is going to sound good today, it was a Victoria's Secret model runway show. Who owned Victoria's Secret? A guy called Les Wexner, guy who was in the Epstein files. We're not going to talk about Trump, but I'm just saying. So, that's how it opened when the restoration was done. And now suddenly they're going towards, a water park. It's kind of interesting. So before you were going after that
It's
jet
wholesome. It's
setter,
family. It's wellness, Peter. Everything's wellness, wellness,
and
wellness.
And now you're turning to wellness. So does this reflect the aging of the ownership, or does it reflect the changing demographic? Remember, Miami Beach, Daniel, they want this blue zone thing. They want this thing where everybody is sucking on, all these, what do you want to call it? Ackee berries and all this other stuff. And they want to give up the
Acai.
booze.
Acai. Come on,
Acai,
Peter.
whatever the
First,
hell it
first,
is.
you're, first you're going dance club to Acai?
Hey, I am not a cultural. I don't know zeitgeist at all. I know condos. I don't know that stuff. But just ask yourself the big picture though. How does a place, when it went through a renovation, open with Victoria's Secret, and you had these women, gorgeous women, walking out on stage and doing the runway walk, to suddenly going towards a water park? What the hell has happened? What is the shift? What is the change? Is it demographics, or is it the ownership and them taking a different perspective? So, that would be my question to you. But is this a sweetheart deal? Yes, I'm sure they lobbied the hell out of it to get this
Oh
thing
yeah.
ultimately through. Yeah,
But so I
but
don't know if this is going to go through, because remember, it's got to go through the Senate. The Senate has its own bill that didn't include this carve out. Will it get there? I don't know. I'm holding this because I'm just sitting back. Do I like that they're going to put this water park there, going over the city that already told them, get the hell out? We're not doing that. No, I don't like it. Do I know what the outcome's going to be? Absolutely not. Um, I mean, shit. It's ballyhoo, baby, for sure, for sure, for sure.
Well, think of the long-term play. If we do get rising sea levels, this could be a future dive site, much like you have down in Key Largo. So if you put in that water park, this could be a dive site for future generations to come and dive with scuba.
Buy, sell, hold, Fountain Blue ballyhoo, Pete.
The ballyhoo, I'm a buy. Whether or not it's a good thing, I would be a sell.
Are you buy, sell, hold on the water park?
The water park, I would be a sell, unless we get some of those Victoria Secret models riding down the slides.
No, they're all meteorologists now, Peter. They're your Spanish speaking meteorologists. All right, since we're on the beach, I wanna fly up to North Beach, Pete. So up in North Beach, and I was just poking around. I think you pulled some numbers for us. So North Beach is I would define it as like 63rd Street, 63rd and Alton, where the drawbridge is, all the way up to Surfside, which is that 87th Terrace?
87th Terrace, yep.
So 87th Terrace, and then do we include Normandy and North Bay Village in that North Beach sphere, or is that their own thing?
No. I include all of that. I include all of that. So three sub-markets of Miami Beach: South Beach, Middle Beach, and North Beach.
All right, so I'm gonna pull it up for the gang here because we all know how much you love our flybys. So that's what this is. And so I poked around on a platform called Dash to Dash, which is basically our pre-construction Bloomberg over here. And so it's a platform where developers can go and upload all their marketing assets so we don't have to hunt around in Dropboxes. But marketed on this platform today in North Beach, there are 10 marketed pre-construction projects. And we know that there's a ton more in the pipe in terms of planned and proposed in North Bay Village because we've been talking about these condo terminations down here in North Bay Village for, well, better part of a year now. But throughout this North Beach section, so there's the drawbridge down here, and then you got Biscayne Point, and then this little peninsula, this little outward, westward carve out there, that's the beginning of Surfside, folks. And so all up in here, this has historically been, well, the cheaper part of Miami Beach. And since dirt is so expensive, we were talking to Andrew Raskin a few weeks ago, he's a developer, he's talking about how expensive dirt is for a developer. Well, don't go buy dirt, go buy an old condo, terminate it, knock it down, and bam, you don't have to buy dirt. You got this structure and you can terminate it. And so they're putting up all of these, and I just pulled out a few of them. You got Pagani going up in North Bay Village here, Shoma Bay, and then if you go on the sandy side meaning the side where there is sand, on the easternmost barrier island of Miami Beach, you have Ocean Terrace Residences, 7200 Collins, and this, for instance, was a termination. And I think this also was a termination. In fact, I think the only one that isn't a termination is Shoma Bay, which, as you can see there, is a parking lot. So in North Beach, we're seeing a lot of activity. It ain't Four Seasons Surfside, you know, and resales for $7,000 a foot. You saw Howie Schultz of Starbucks fame. I don't know if we call him Howie. Maybe only Mrs. Schultz can call him Howie, but I'm going to call you Howie. Howie spent $1 bazillion buying, I think it was a penthouse at the Four Seasons Surfside. And so this market, this submarket, isn't quite there. But in terms of barrier island redevelopment opportunity, this is where it is. And Peter's got a few thoughts about North Bay Village. I think, did you call it a rest stop?
Well, North Bay Village, which would be the part to the west, those are the man-made islands right in the heart of the bay, where Channel 7 is WSVN, although they're building a new headquarters. Channel 10 too now. Well, not Channel 10, but ABC Miami is also with Channel 7 and Anson Family. So the rest stop, as you can see, is when you're going from the mainland on the west, going east, you stop off there, you use the restroom, you refill, maybe you pick up some snacks, and then you continue on to the beach. Again, a lot of these islands, why do the shapes look so good, so perfect? They're man-made. All this stuff is man-made. They dredged the hell out of a bay that was no more than 6 feet deep. They needed someplace to dump it. Old man Fisher, Carl Fisher, he is the one who really, brought this this movement really forward in the 19 teens, which led to the 1920s Florida land boom. That's why everything looks so good. A lot of this stuff is man-made. But what I will tell you is the rust stop is North Bay Village and North Beach. This is where the laborers work. The people who are working down in South Beach for the tourists, as well as to the north. In Surfside, where old man Schultz from Starbucks coffee fame is going to be living. He's going to be tapping into the people living in North Beach, as well as Mr. Zuckerberg. Mr. Zuckerberg, you're over in Indian Creek, which is a little bit farther north. You're going to be tapping a North Beach crowd as well as Jeff Bezos. If he ever gets off one of his boats and he's spending time in Venice and everywhere else, he's going to be using North Beach workers. Continue on a little bit north. You got Bell Harbor. You got Surfside. Where do the workers come from? They come from North Beach. They come from North Bay Village, and they come from Bay Harbor Islands, which looks like a pair of lungs right off the Broad Causeway at about 123rd on the mainland and about 96 on the Barrier Island. The eastern lung, yep, that one right there, Daniel, the one to the right, that's where all the laborers work. So you got these little pockets of, think blue collar, who are basically serving the masters who are going to be in Bell Harbor and Surfside, in South Beach, maybe Middle Beach, as well as Sunny Isles Beach. That's the way I would sort of view this. But North Bay Village is still the rust stop on your way to the east when you come from the mainland.
So would you say that the sandy side of North Bay of North Beach is that seeing sort of an upgrade because of its proximity to the sand?
Yeah, well, what I would tell you about North Beach is it's a value trap. It's a value trap, much like Hollywood. Now, what do I mean by that? Its lows are higher, but they don't hold. This is a market you go to when the alternative is too expensive. So you look there when you can't afford the other thing. But when and if you get a pullback, these are the first areas to sell off because there's no cornerstone, there's no foundation. This is like going into copper or going into silver right now rather than being in gold, given all the uncertainty that's going on in this marketplace and AI and stuff like that. So just understand what they are. They go up when everything else is too expensive, much like Broward County. It's the same type of scenario. Remember, I don't know if you remember, but I said Palm Beach County hits the older, risk-averse type with cash. Miami-Dade County is going to hit your adrenaline junkie, maybe a little bit of a some sort of addictive personality.
You got a drippy nose?
Yeah, and some new money. And Broward County is where the workers are. That's the same thing that you're going to find in North Beach, but a little bit more refined worker, if you will. I had a condo in North Beach. I love the neighborhood. Why did I love it? Because it's so diverse. You got a big Argentinian community there that came right after the peso dollar devaluation back in 2002. So it's a great place. It's an eclectic place, but it's like Hollywood, Florida. It's always up and coming, but it never arrives. Value trap.
But you know what? I'm going to push back on you on that because I think with all the money in, well, it's going into Surfside now. Four Seasons is the most successful resale condo, I think maybe in the tri-state area. With that value pushing down on here, and then the single-family home value pushing from the south on North Bay Road and Bagel Beach, where all the Hasidic Jews are living, that has gotten very expensive. It's osmosis, Peter. Like that value is going to squeeze into Normandy, and I don't think it's a trap anymore. I think the population has grown, and people want to live there. They don't want to live on the mainland. Like if you want to live on one of the barrier islands, where else are you going to live?
But you had mentioned Bagel Beach. I mean, there's a high concentration of people of that faith. And one of the real selling points, especially people who are diehard and I'm not and committed, is there's certain things they can't do. For instance, some of the buildings you go into, I guess on the Sabbath, you can't touch the elevator button. So some of these elevators will stop at every floor.
Every floor,
so therefore,
right.
Yeah, you're able to do that. Every place is open on Sunday, but maybe not necessarily on Saturday. There's certain types of things, but there is kind of a cutoff, I think, that you experience when you're at Surfside, Bell Harbor, Bay Harbor Islands, where it's all sort of concentrated. Now, when you get into North Beach, really what you're going to run into is you're going to run into a very large Latin American population that's going to tend to look for cheap places. Listen, trivia, Sofia Vergara's, the famous actress, the Colombiana, who basically made a real name for herself. She was on that TV show about the
Modern Family.
Modern Family. When she got to Miami, she had a condo in North Beach. This is a starting off point. This is not a destination. Maybe it'll change, but they've been talking about that forever and ever and ever. Value, value, value trap, in my perspective.
Success in North Beach. Do I even have to ask you? You sound like you're a sell.
I love it. I love North Beach because there's always value, but I would have to be a sell of whether or not it's success. And the developers who go in there, they tend to be rookies. They don't know what the hell they're doing. This is their first shot, and they're chasing the land price. They go in there, and it doesn't always end well.
But you have real developers going in. There are people that we've seen their names on buildings for decades here, not just a bunch of New Yorkers coming over here and thinking they can build in New York and now they can build here. I mean, I think you got Related Determination here. You got the Anson family that has a huge assemblage over there in North Bay Village. I mean, these guys don't mess around.
Well, put it this way. I have a developer buddy who had a place in North Bay Village a few years ago. He said, I'm going to build this. And I said, dude, sell. Sell, sell, sell. He was able to get out. He dumped it for 3x. The guy stuck with it now. Good luck. I'm just saying when the market when you got FOMO, these places make all the sense in the world. When you kind of come back to reality, it's a tough sell. It's cheap rent.
All right, you're selling. I'm the bull in this, right? I'm buying. I hope it does well. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But with all that money coming in from Europe now, since it's not going to Dubai, hey, maybe. You know what else is getting a lot of residential play is the design district, Peter. Design district grows up. We're going to go back to the map over here. See, I saved all these little things. But we're going to go over to the design district. You heard of Old Man Craig Robbins' DACRA. So DACRA created the design district, sort of as we know it. It was always the design district where you had the warehouses full of designer furniture and people were laundering money, filling up these warehouses with all this inventory. But now you got real brands in here. You got the Valentinos and the Louis Vuittons and, well, I don't know who else. I don't shop for things like that. But you have this, what is that, about 5 by 5 square blocks of, it's an open air shopping mall. Very nice. Yep. There's eateries, there's gorgeous parking garages, and I'm not even kidding, like gorgeous parking garages. Who says that? No, we build really pretty parking garages here in Miami, and a few of them are in this district. But I want to talk about Craig Robbins' vision for the Miami design residences, because while there is a lot in here, there's no residential, or there hasn't been. Wynwood, kind of came in here like a tornado and took effectively an area that was largely full of chop shops and graffiti, and they leaned into the artsy thing, and very quickly they began to build residences. The design district was a much slower process, probably because DACRA still owns and operates about 70% of all the buildings in here. So they've been very thoughtful about what they do and when they do it. So Miami Design Residences, it's this highlighted bit here, right there. That's North Miami Avenue. And then they effectively bought up the whole block a couple years ago, 2022. They paid $143 million for that assemblage. So not a lot of money, good chunk of change. And so they're going to build a luxury development. And my thinking, or at least my hypothesis, is that they expect that luxury to sort of radiate out. And I would expect that Mr. Robbins will continue to build luxury residential in this district to support, all these retail tenants trying to sell $10,000 purses.
I don't know anything about purses, but we just talked about the sofas with the fountain blue. Craig Robbins, he's married to Jackie Sofer, just for the record, so everybody kind of knows.
So Big Daddy Don Sofer recently passed away, legend. Jackie and her brother, they had a falling out, as I understand it. I just read page 6. I don't read page 6, but I do read The Real Deal, which is, never mind. They're a good journalistic organization. But they kind of had a falling out, Jackie and her brother, and so as I understand it, bro got the Fountain Blue brand, and Jackie got pretty much everything else, as far as I understand. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody correct me over here.
Yep, it may or may not be correct. Let's just go with it. If The Real Deal had it,
I'm glad we're not in Dubai, because I could be arrested for even just spreading a rumor, apparently. So the other thing that's going on, though, in the design district. And it's not just luxury. There is, Peter, a Live Local project plan. And so we're going to fly over to the Live Local project on my little thing here. Bingo. Have you been to Mandolin, Peter?
I have. I used to go there when nobody went there. Now I don't go anymore because it's too popular. Like Yogi
What?
Berra said.
Like Yogi Berra, like the old Yogi Berra saying. So this is a planned site for a Live Local project, and I wanted to bring it up sort of as a juxtaposition to this ultra luxury that Craig Robbins is building, because Craig Robbins is actually developing that assemblage over there with Nadim Ashi. Nadim Ashi, Fort Partners. He's developing all the Four Seasons residences down here. So he built the one up in Surfside. He's building the one down in the Grove. So he partnered up with him to build that. On the other side of Northeast 2nd Avenue is this proposed or planned, I don't know if it's in planning or proposed yet, but it's a Live Local project that is going to be, I don't know how many, what did I put here? 36-story tower with 162 branded condos and 116 apartments. That's why I wanted to bring it up, because it is a branded condo and rental building. And it's interesting, and this is something that Peter and I have talked about with Live Local, because they have designated 40% of these units to be workforce housing units, meaning they have to rent the units for a certain amount depending on where a tenant falls in the average median income index, right? So if you make about 100 grand a year, you can rent an apartment here. But the other 60%, they can effectively do whatever the heck they want with it. So per Miami 21 zoning laws, this site by right is, and you can ask AC about this, but for my research, you can only build a 5-story building here. But with Live Local, they're going to build a 36-story building here. So that's Live Local, kind of like the Fontainebleau thing of Tallahassee law superseding municipal controls. And if you look around on this map here, these are all single family homes. So I can't imagine that the people living around here are terribly happy about a 36-story building going up next door.
You know, it's an interesting point. Daniel, if we can zoom in on the yellow one, that site across from the Mandolin, there used to be a church. There was a movement at one point when all the churches were getting dumped. That church was sold off, and a project was announced more than 10 years ago on that, just to kind of give you context. So in terms of height and does it make sense, they couldn't make it make sense. So now maybe Live Local is a way to sort of satisfy the problem. Daniel, if you could jump across the tracks, this is Henry Flagler's tracks, the FEC. Yeah, jump across. Zoom on down in. You want to be off of Biscayne Boulevard, and close to the tracks. There is a right when you come from the exit. Yep. Zoom in a little bit more. Right by the causeway. You want the causeway. Now, you'll see the main entrance get into the design district. For when you get off the causeway, Julia Tuttle going into the design district right off of Biscayne. Mr. Robbins also owns that site. That was slated for north of 30-story tower as well. That's sitting vacant. He also had another site that was just closer to Miami Avenue. So if you look at the overall master plan for the design district, he had earmarked some housing, which what ultimately made that church site so enticing, so exciting. I would anticipate as we go forward, you're probably going to see a lot of high density type of product going up there. The city of Miami, maybe they'll embrace it, maybe they won't, maybe they'll go Live Local Act. But this is an area that really kind of has upside because Mr. Robbins, Craig Robbins, and his wife, and LVMH, don't forget, they are an equity partner in acquiring a lot of this dirt. The Louis Vuitton people, they're gonna kind of curate the type of feeling, the vibe they want. And remember, just to the north of it, you're gonna get the Buena Vista neighborhood, a real popular neighborhood. It's got the old historical homes. It's got a real cool vibe. And ultimately, you probably see it spilling over into what is Little Haiti, or what was left of Little Haiti.
And then up into Little River, where they're putting up all those Live Local projects, Swerdlow and the Spanish guy. We talked about him last week.
Yeah. So I think all of this is probably next cycle. Craig will be able to pull it off with LVMH and Jackie Sofer. They're probably going to pull this off however they want. But I think it's in next cycle is when it really starts to bang, including Little Haiti. So this is early on. I don't know how it's going to play forward, kind of going forward. But I think next cycle is when you really start to see this thing take off. So,
Next cycle, Peter, don't we have to end one cycle to start a new cycle? We got mortgage rates hit 6.4% on the 30-year today.
and that's my point. I think we're the plane is landing, or we're running into turbulence, and then when they get going again, then I think these areas become very popular.
So your buy, sell, hold on Design District grows up. Sounds like you're
Uh,
holding.
uh, yeah. I think they're going through puberty.
Going through
I don't think
puberty.
they're adult. They can't drive yet, in my opinion. They definitely can't vote and they can't booze. Not that they would booze, but yeah. I think they're going through puberty. I don't think they've grown up yet. I think they have all kinds of talent. It could ultimately be realized, but at this point, from a condo perspective, there's too many alternatives and there's probably cheaper prices. So how do you get somebody to part with their money unless they're coming from Dubai and they don't know any better?
And this, folks, is also why I'm a buy on this. You can tell I'm really buying the Dubai, buy, Dubai
Yeah, that makes
narrative.
sense. That is a natural, assuming the Whitman family doesn't poach him away. Whitman's run the shop at Bell Harbor, and remember, they were able to basically LVMH was able to separate or extract itself from the Whitmans in Bell Harbor. They went in, they threw in with the Design District, and also too they had thrown in with Brickell City Center. No, Brickell City Center what was the Whitmans, and LVMH they left and they came down, and I think LVMH was at Aventura Mall. So we had a moment where there was like a real internal battle going on with these
Oh, I
high end
remember when that
retailers.
happening because
Yes,
they had all these laws with their leasing and they didn't want them to open
exclusivity.
stores and within like 20 miles or something. That's for another pod day, but
Yep.
maybe a topic for next week.
Yeah. And to set the record straight, it was Shops at Bell Harbor. They joint ventured or got involved with Brickell City Center, and then LVMH. They went into Aventura Mall and they went into Design District. That's how there was a parting of the ways. It was a Mason Dixon line. It was a separation.
Got it. Got it. Well, coming back from our macro 85,000 feet up in the air view, we're gonna zoom right down into Miami. Something so Miami, folks. So just this past week, two guys with fake Spanish passports walk into a Miami Beach office, sit down, sign about 160 pages of loan documents on a $10 million Gables Estate lot that they didn't own. And the only reason why it didn't work is because the lender's ID verification software flagged it for tampering. It got like this close, right? And that's a big number, but even on the smaller scale, it's something that happens so much here, right, Peter? We're talking land fraud, we're talking about title fraud, we're talking about all of these things because Miami has all the ingredients for this type of fraud to happen. We got international ownership, we got absentee owners, we got vacant land sitting in LLCs and property values high enough to make the scam worth the risk, right? Gables Estates is an extreme example. It's a $10 million vacant lot. But this same playbook runs on the $200,000 vacant lot in Homestead. I got a call probably like a year ago. Do you remember that? I told you. Somebody called me about selling their place in Marathon. And I call the owner, the owner of record, and he says, holy crap, they're trying to do it again.
Wow.
Yeah, you have to. You're supposed to call the FBI tip line so that they can track down the person trying to engage in this naughtiness. But it happens, and these scammers are just hitting the phones, just like we hit the phones looking for buyers. It's their job. Bananas. But what's interesting about this particular case is the length that these guys went to. So this, I think it got reported in Channel 10 News, ABC affiliate, whatever Local 10 is now. Doesn't matter. But he got called in by the lender because there was some discrepancy because the ID verification said fraud. And so the guy said, hey, can you come in person? So the guy goes, okay. And he goes in with a woman who supposedly his girlfriend to translate so he can like fake that he doesn't really speak English. And they arrest him on the spot. They're like, dude, these documents are fake. All of this is fake. But he leaned into the con hard and I mean, maybe got further than most others would. So I applaud him for A for effort, F for failing, I guess. I mean, don't do crime. Crime is bad. Crime doesn't pay. You're going to go to jail. But this is a recurring theme down here in Miami. So folks, cautionary tale, be vigilant. Always, 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 always confirm wire instructions when you're sending an escrow. I mean, all my banking clients know this, and they're very anal about it because this is something that they do every day. But don't just take somebody's word for it, especially through email. Anybody can intercept your email or your attorney's email, change a few numbers in a wire instruction, and then poof, it's gone. So be careful, guys.
If your mother says she loves you, check it out. That is the approach you need to take in Miami when it is with real estate. And the state of Florida, that's what you need to do. Everybody's out there hustling. Everybody's got an angle. Remember, people come to South Florida and Florida for three reasons. One, they come for love. Two, they're coming for a job. Or three, they're running from the law. That's why they all come down here. Many of them don't tend to stay more than 3 years. Remember, the first year you party, second year you party and you transition. Third, transition to a job. And third year, you transition into working. So if you're here 4 years or more, then you're legit. Anybody less than 3 years, don't believe them. Mother says she loves you. Check it out. What I will tell you, though, is I was talking to the title guy. He told me the best way to protect your vacant dirt, and they love to go after vacant dirt because nobody knows who the owner is. They don't see him. It's absentee landlord. Effectively, what you do is you record a lien against your own property. Give yourself and record a lien for about $100. Put that lien on your property so when they go to
so it has a dirty title.
So now it has a title that has to get resolved. So rather than paying a security company, which you can, some of these groups that monitor stuff, you basically
really
record a lien. Record a lien against your property. When they go to settle it up, the title company for the closing, they're going to have to get in touch with you to release the lien. So that's all you got to do is what I was told by a title company. But this stuff is widespread. The fraud related to wire transactions, widespread. And who do the hackers target? They target title companies. They want to be able to get in to get their information so they can go ahead and send something to a prospective customer and say, hey, listen, we changed our routing instructions for the wire. Go ahead and do this, do that. I've done some podcasts on that, so it's very interesting. But Daniel, this is one of the great traditions in South Florida, scamming people. They've been doing it forever and ever and ever.
100 years.
And I do salute this con man, golf clap for them, because they want big numbers. They weren't messing around with 200 G's. They're going after, what do you say, $10 million?
No, it was a $6 million note on a $10 million property.
Okay, so they were going to take $6 million. Yeah, so kudos to them. Now, I mean, as long as you're going to do the crime, you might as well go all in as far as I'm concerned. So I give them credit for shooting for the stars. Fortunately, they got caught. They got jammed up, and maybe it is a testament to maybe what the law enforcement's doing nowadays and the know your customer and everything else related to that. So a great story, but this always goes on. And typically it's the condo association scamming unit owners based on their fees being paid and work being done. But these scams are everywhere. Your mother says she loves you. Check it out.
Allegedly happening at the Aston Martin building right now, talking about HOA. Allegedly. So I looked it up for you, Peter. 62% of title fraud cases involve vacant land.
There you go. It always happens. Always, 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 always. You're always hearing about vacant land. Why? Because nobody really knows who the owner is. And do you need an ID? Do you not need an ID? What's a real ID? What's a passport? Kind of like what we're going to go through with voting. If this the SAVE Act passes, what's real? Can you vote? Can you not vote? That's kind of what it is. A lot of this stuff is all kind of up in the air. If your mother says she loves you, check it out. That's all I would tell you.
The other scam, and before we wrap up for today, doing great on time, is, and I've seen this one too, are the fake rental scams. So a lot of you guys, I know you're renters out there, you see something on Zillow or something and you don't have representation. Always have representation. It doesn't cost you anything down here as a buyer or a renter. The other side pays for it, but go in with representation because you're going to call somebody. You're going to say, okay, I love it. Maybe somebody even meets you at a unit and shows it to you, possible, or a house, they broke in and they changed the locks because it's vacant, it's absentee. And then they say, all right, to move in, you got to put a first, last, and security deposit. So you send them 3 months of payments. So if it's a $6,000 unit, It's $18,000. You send it to them. All of a sudden, you move into the house, and then one day the owner says, hey, dude, what are you doing in my house? And you go, I have a lease here. No, you don't. And so that happens here all the time. And it's not going to happen if you're renting from like an institutional building, like the Flow House or one of these guys. But a lot of our rental inventory is mom and pop stuff. And a lot of these folks live in Argentina or Poland or Turkey or wherever, and they don't know. So hire representation if you are a renter. And the overall theme of this topic is just be vigilant, guys. I know
and
it's
contractors. Do not give contractors the entire payment. If you're going to engage with a contractor to do work for you, give them a smaller increment. Don't go more than 50% in. They're going to piss off with your money. They're going to bail with it. Then you're going to have to try to hunt them down, run them down. Pay based on milestones, just like developers require if you're going to buy pre-construction. You put down your deposit. They break ground. You put more money. It hits a certain floor.
I got to go buy my materials.
Biggest scam. And check on their license. There's something called myfloridalicense.com. Go there. You can look up anybody with a license, and you should be able to find them there. Now, if they tell you, listen, I don't, I'm a handyman. I don't do that. Now, understand that you're taking a risk. You might get jammed up on the permit side with the inspection, stuff like that. But the other side is that person might just be fly by night and disappear. Remember, they come here for love. They come here for a job, or they're running from the law. So the way you do it is you pay.
Still could be a good roofer, though.
Could be a great roofer, but pay as you go. Do not front somebody money because they're jammed up, because you suddenly will be the one jammed up. Your mother says she loves you. Check it out.
Buy, sell, hold, Peter. Fraudsters be frauding.
Hey, I'm a strong buy on that, and they're very good at it.
They are very good at it. I recommend anybody who hasn't read it. It's more of a reference book, really. I think it was written in the 50s or the 60s. The Big Con. It's like a reference book of all the cons. By the way, they attribute so many of them to be invented here in Florida in the 1920s during the 1920s land boom. They said that's where the saying goes, you can't. I picked it up from that book. You couldn't throw a rock without hitting a mark.
They all came. We know.
And now the population is just bigger, guys. So there's more people. There's more fraudsters. Be vigilant, be careful, hire representation, and folks, that is our show. Episode number 43 of Buy, Sell, Hold. If you're just joining us, thank you for coming. We are live here every Friday, Eastern Standard Time. Actually, nope, it's Eastern Daylight Savings Time. I freaking hate Daylight Savings Time. It is awful, awful, awful. But nevertheless, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming. We hope you learned something, and if you didn't, shoot me an email, yell at me, or just yell at Peter. Ciao, guys.
Oye, Miami, the market's on fire. To buy, to sell, to hold takes you higher. With Zalewski and Hernandez, you know the sound.